Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 14, Rationality, Work and Organization. And we are continuing our topic, Work and Organization. And subtopic is Bureaucracy and Democracy. The growth of bureaucratic state proceeds in close connection with the advance of political democratization. This because the demands made by Democrats for political representation and for equality before the law necessitate complex administrative and juridical provision to prevent the exercise of privilege. The fact that democracy and bureaucratization are so closely related creates one of the most profound sources of tension in the modern capitalist order. For a while, the extension of democratic rights in the contemporary state cannot be achieved without the formulation of new bureaucratic regulations. There is a basic opposition between the democracy and bureaucracy. The existence of large-scale parties is inevitable in the modern state, but if these parties are headed by political leaders who have strong conviction of the significance of their vocation, a regularization of political structure can be partly checked. Now let us move to the next point, bureaucracy and socialism. In the modern economy, where bureaucracy on the socialist basis and sought to attain a level of technical efficiency in production and distribution of goods comparable to that of capitalism. This would necessitate a tremendous increase in the importance of professional bureaucrats. The bureaucratic division of labor, which is an integral characteristic of the modern economy, demands the precise coordination of functions. This is a fact which has been at the root of the increase of bureaucratization associated with the expansion of capitalism. But the formation of a socialist state would entail a considerably higher degree of bureaucratization, since it would place a wider range of administrative tasks in the hands of the state. Weber's primary objections to socialism concern the bureaucratic ramifications which it would entail. This offers another example of the characteristic dilemma of modern times. Those who seek to set up a socialist society, they act under the vision of the achievement of an order in which political participation and self-realization will go beyond the circumscribed form of party democracy found in capitalism. But the result of the impetus to bureaucratize his vision can only be in direction of promoting the bureaucratization of industry and the state, which will in fact further reduce the political autonomy of the mass population. Now let us move to the next point, modern features of bureaucracy. It is a singular feature of bureaucracy that once it has become established, it is in Weber's word escape proof. Modern bureaucracy, characterized by a much higher level of rational specialization than patrimonial organizations, is even more resistant to any attempt to raise society from its grip. Such an apparatus makes revolution in the sense of the forceful creation of entirely new formations of authority more and more impossible. The spread of bureaucracy in modern capitalism is both cause and consequence of the rationalization of law, politics, and industry. Bureaucratization is the concrete administrative manifestations of the rationalization of action which has penetrated into all spheres of the Western culture, including art, music, and architecture. Consequently, for Weber, the analysis of the growth of the bureaucratic state provides a paradigm for the explanation of the progression of bureaucratization in all spheres. For Marx, on the other hand, the systematic and hierarchical division of labor in the administration of the state represents a concentration of political power. Now let us conclude the unit. In Marx, a primary factor underlying the early origins of the capitalism in Western Europe is the historical process of the expropriation of the producers from control of their means of production. Capitalism is thus in its very essence a class society. The basic contradictions inherent in the capitalist economy derive directly from its character as a system based upon production for exchange value. The need to maintain or to expand the rate of profit is in opposite to the tendential law of declining profits. The separation of the producer and consumer is the main factor lying behind the crisis to which capitalism is recurrently subject, and the operation of the capitalist market entails both that labor power cannot be sold above its exchange value, and that there comes into being a large reserve army destined to live in perpetuism. For Durkheim and Weber, the class structure is not integral to the progressive differentiation in the division of labor. Both repudiate the notion that these class divisions express its underlying nature. In Durkheim's conception, the forced division of labor is an abnormal form, but it is not a necessary consequence of the extension of the social differentiation in itself. It is primarily the use of the economic power to enforce unjust contracts which explains the occurrence of class conflict. What distinguishes the modern form of society from the traditional types is not its specific class character, but the prevalence of organic solidarity. In Weber's conception, rational calculation is the primary element in modern capitalistic enterprise, and the rationalization of social life generally is the most distinctive attribute of modern Western culture. The class relation which Marx takes to be the pivot of capitalism is in fact only one element in a much more pervasive rationalization which extends the process of expropriation of the worker from his means of production into most of the institutions in the contemporary society. The existence of contradictions within capitalism generates no historical necessity for such contradictions to be resolved. On the contrary, the advance of rationalization, which certainly creates a hitherto unknown material abundance, inevitably stimulates a further separation between the distinctive values of Western civilization freedom, creativity, spontaneity, and the realities of the iron cage in which modern man is confined. Now let us wind up the session, and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with a self-learning podcast.